you've been missed the past few years, and I'm glad you're in good health.
Thank you very much. I am. I'm healthy. My throat is bad today, but I'm in good health.
Glad to hear that. I didn't know you were ill.
I retired because I lost my vision in my left eye. I developed something called optic neuropathy, which is hardly ever heard of. And within 3 days, my left eye went blind. And so if you were to walk around with covering your eye, you'd see that you can function really quite well. But the prognosis was that within 3 to 5 years, it's not unlikely that the other eye would be affected. And so the idea of working in a dark, cold recording studio, which is where the majority of my work is done, for 3 years, and then maybe walking out without being able to see was not an option. So my husband and I retired, and we've been seeing the world. I spent a month in Tuscany last year, which was awesome.
Wow.
We just came back from Chicago. Never had been to Chicago before. What a fabulous city. I try to do Comic-Cons whenever I can. I hope people will invite me as much as possible because, while I'm still pertinent, while people still care what I have to say, I want to go out, and especially this being an anniversary of a project that was so cool. It was a project that wasn't based on existing material. Everybody didn't have real thoughts about what this was because they read the comic books. It didn't exist yet. We had this freedom to create this new young kid Batman. And I love the fact that he just wasn't right there and all together, okay, now I'm young Batman. He fought it, Bruce Wayne had to really train him. And they kind of mess with each other. And I like that dynamic of, it was a punk. And Batman would toy with him. He'd let the suit freeze. He had control of the suit. And so poor Will is trying to, and then release it and take pleasure.
Oh!
And now, well, first of all, you're always welcome to try.
Invite me.
I will do what I can. And talk about this milestone anniversary of this groundbreaking show, ma'am.
Isn't it amazing that 20 years after a show that was made as a show in the future still works as a show in the future? It's like, you watch a Star Trek, the original Star Trek series, and you go, oh, well, the communicators, we all had flip phones. It's exactly that. But this one still has stuff like invisibility and things like that. They just go, where's my invisibility suit? I'm still waiting for my invisibility suit. But I love the music was modern. It was completely different than the Batman score from Batman the Animated Series. I love that the art was different. It was much more angular and different. The villains were different. We did bring some villains back from the original series, but it opened up a whole new world for all of us. And what is so rewarding is how the fans are responding to it. They all are remembering how much they like the series, and that means a lot to us because we created it. It wasn't something that was already existing in any other
The series.
Sorry,
Go ahead, please.
No, I was going to ask. Now it's also can be found on streaming services. So now it's getting introduced to new fans. So how does that feel? Knowing that it's being introduced to more people.
It's the best. And what someone asked me why do I enjoy going to Comic-Cons, and I explained because basically it's dozens of people coming up and saying nice things to me. So why wouldn't I go? And as you say, someone will come up and say, I watched Batman the Animated Series. I rushed home after school every day to make sure not to miss it. And now my son and I watch it. And that's way cool. So I love that it was good enough that the parents thought, I want my son to know this series too. And they're liking it. Because, animation has improved, changed, it's much more sophisticated, and yet there's still really, really silly things being made, but it's still good, it's still valid, it's still worth watching, it still holds up, and that's what you hope to do, is do something that's 10 years later, 20 years later, still going to be of interest to anybody.
So prior to getting involved in Batman animated series, were you a comic book fan?
No, because women my age didn't read comic books. If we did, it was, Betty and Veronica, or the romance comics, where the women's tears. But we didn't, not action comics, we just didn't. It wasn't the time. So I got a whole education in comic books. I had to learn how to read comic books. I didn't understand, okay, that blue in that color means that's Batman's thought. That's Superman's thought. That's Batman actually speaking out loud. That's Superman speaking. Where do I go? Because I didn't know that as a kid. I had to learn how to read comic books. But I had some of the best teachers: Alan Burnett, Bruce Timm, James Tucker, all these guys, Paul Dini, all these people who I would say, I don't know who Red Tornado is. Can you tell me? You know, I have to cast it for 2 lines. So I can't just guess. You have to know something about what that character is about. Is it an ethnic character? Is it related to? You had a question. I don't
Oh
know.
yes, I did. Going back to how it's still futuristic till this day, I saw how it pulled elements of like Blade Runner in
Right.
1984. Did they actually inspire part of?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I can't say because that's more of the art side of it, and I didn't have much control over that or information about that. But as a fan, I say that I see that too. I also love that it wasn't just about crime and Batman and crime and Batman and bad guys. It was about what happens in high school when you're trying to develop your personality, your friends, what you're going to be like. You know, Terry McGinnis is trying to have a relationship with his girlfriend, and Bruce Wayne keeps calling him to take care of something, and his mother is constantly yelling at him for getting home so late and not doing his schoolwork, and all those things are real as far as a girlfriend who wants your time, schoolwork that needs your time, a job, because that's really what it was, a job that needs your time. And so, I like that. I like that aspect of, and hopefully I think that's what resonated with kids on the show was that, yeah, that happens all the time. You can't always do all the things that you want to because other things take up some of your time.
I got to ask this. You seem to push the envelope of this show because I remember Return of the Joker. I'm like, wow, this is really dark. They got away with that? I'll be damned. They got away with that.
We had
So,
to ask for special dispensation for a lot of stuff on the Return of the Joker.
okay.
That never, ever were we allowed to show blood. Couldn't show blood. Batman could get beat up, and you couldn't even show a trickle. There's blood in the Return of the Joker. Just a little, but we're allowed to show blood. I believe we could say, we can't even say, oh my God. And I believe we said once or twice in the Return of the Joker, we got, again, special dispensation because it was a movie. It wasn't a TV. It wasn't made for TV.
It wasn't going to be on at 4 o'clock after school, Monday through Friday.
Exactly right. And so, but we had to, we had to be very careful with those things. And I'll ask you to be delicate with this information I'm about to say. But say an actor's supposed to say "fraggot," or one of those expressions that we had, some of those phrases, and the actor just couldn't say "fraggot." He couldn't say it convincingly. So I would say the word, and then echo it with the word I want to say. And then fraggot, and then that would be the right meaning. But they'd have to say it right after. It's like, son of whatever that thing is, say the really dirty thing, and we'll cut that out, I promise. But then exactly the same way, say the word that we made up for you so that it makes sense. What were some of the other wonderful words we used in the series? It was shway, right? Something with shway. If it was cool, it was shway. So people would have a hard time. Do you think it's shway? No, I think it's schwarbage. I love those. We tried to create kind of language. Like every generation has
Some new slang.
Exactly right. People like in my day, they say dig it. Dig it was a real popular thing. Dig it. And so every generation has those kinds of things. And this one was shway, and there was one other word I forget.
And Sway is used on the Flash series.
It makes me happy. It makes me happy. I think that was it might have been DePaul. How to come up with sway.
I have 2 things. One,
Please.
you are absolutely just breathtakingly gorgeous, number 1.
Nice.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
You're very welcome. If it's okay to comment on physical. And 2, can you talk about being such a strong female role model? Good for
My goal in working on these action shows was to bring to it a female viewpoint that would make female viewers want to watch it. I didn't want it just to be a boys' show. I wanted there to be something, whether it was romance or comedy, or I just didn't want it to be beat up. And this show in particular, Screen Actors Guild gives us 4 hours to record an episode, to rehearse and record an episode. This show I could rehearse and record in less than 2 hours because there was so much action that was done after the fact. We would do the dialogue, it goes away for 6 months, gets animated, comes back, we put all the fight stuff in to match picture. Because you can only do so many, and then it doesn't sound like a library, it doesn't sound natural. You want to do it 2-picture. Exactly when that person is doing that. And so it was fast, it was very fast and furious. But I would always stop and say, as I was prepping it, what's going to make this not seem just like a knockdown, drag, and fight for 22 minutes? And that was my goal, was to find feminine side, and to also prove to the animation world that a woman could direct that kind of show without it becoming sappy or too girly or whatever. And I'd like to think I achieved that. I grew up, I'm one of 8 kids, 2 boys and 6 girls. So there wasn't a lot of people in my family. People often ask me, what do I think helped me do what I do? And I always say being a cheerleader and being one of 8 kids. Because and they're all chatting. How do you get them to be quiet and focus on you and get the work done? And that was cheerleading. That was pay attention to me, damn it, right now. Ready and together. And so we were all, and so both those things I think helped me a lot. But it was such a joyous career. I was so lucky. I fell into it. I didn't even know it was an option when I first started to be a professional of any sort. I was an actress first, and then I became an agent representing voice actors, and then the casting director at Hanna-Barbera, and then a voice director for DuckTales. DuckTales was my first series that I ever did. Isn't it a great show? And then they remade it, and they didn't ask me to come and play on the remake, and I was kind of sad. But then I saw the show, and I went, no, it's a good show. It's okay. They didn't screw it up. If they'd screwed up, I would have made a fuss. But they didn't. It was good.
Now you mentioned you didn't want it to be just a boys' show. My sister saw some episodes. She's like, wow, this is really good stuff. I was expecting Adam West and Burt Ward. I'm like, okay, you are behind the times.
But she missed the Batman animated series for that transition, because really, when you think about the time, the Adam West series was the only moving picture of Batman that existed, and that was so comical. It was meant to be. It was meant to be. And then we took a big risk in making The Dark Knight a dark series. And they made that series on black paper. Instead of using background paper of white and painting it black to get that dark background, they used black paper. So it already started with a great dark look. So I wanted to make sure that the acting in that series, different than this one, Batman the Animated Series, had a real dark tone to it. And that's why the television was that out of us. We got more into that with the Joker because that's somebody who can get
the panel that you did on voice acting here a few years ago has to be one of the most beloved panels in the history of this convention. Is there any chance that you bring it back?
It would be my pleasure. They just ask me to do it. So whoever you need to ask to make that happen, I would love another chance.
Just start a petition right now.
It would be I actually would like to come and do a class of 12 people.